Feels tough for Zest because this is sort of what he's had so much success with throughout the entire event.
Serral looks so confident.
He does, right? Like, he's just exuding the feeling of, I'm gonna win this. Like, first game went exactly, he saw it before. He sort of thought, hey, I think I've got this. And now he's like, oh yeah, this feels real good. I got in my momentum, I played my game. It's gotta feel good. 1-0 up in the semifinals of the Inter-Extreme Masters Katowice. Finnish Zerg player starting in the bottom right-hand side. He is Serral.
And in the left top side of Nightshade, which is going to be our second map of this semi-final, representing Team Raise Your Edge, it is Zest. I'm still like, you know, it's funny because it was an interesting game where there were a lot of things that I think we could talk about and things we could focus on, but I'm still kind of shocked with how careful he was with that very first Oracle. Obviously, losing it is a disaster, but I think settling for 2 drones when there is only 1 queen in position and no Spore Crawler, that's almost a little too safe for me.
Because I think once that Oracle comes in, it can still take more damage and get out, right? You probably get 2 more drones and get out alive. Yes, low HP, but that's what the shields are for. And then from then, the Oracle is more of a keep track of things, right? It's defensive. It doesn't get into fights. Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like you proxy the Stargate, you've got to be looking for more. When Serral was so in the dark, you've got to try and get those advantages against Serral.
Yep. I also think that, whoa, okay, Zest maybe got a successful hatch block off. Obviously, we were doing the player intro, so Serral now being forced to expand in a rather awkward location. The gas timing was still relatively standard. It was like 1 or 2 seconds quicker than I think he normally takes it, but that's obviously not a very big deal. I do, however, feel, though, as a Protoss player, if you force the Zerg to expand somewhere else, if you're Zest right now, you gotta be a little bit worried about a crazy Roach Ling opening or something along those lines. Should that work? No, obviously not against Zest. He should be able to scout it, and then he can build, you know, the right amount of shield batteries and either get a Stargate unit out or a Robo unit out. But it is something you have to keep in the back of your mind. You can't be too greedy at this point, and you need to make damn sure that Serral's not all-inning you.
Especially on a map like this, sometimes even the Queens march across Nightshade. So definitely one to keep your scouting up. Don't get too greedy. Don't take too much.
Obviously, as a Zerg player, it's incredibly frustrating to be forced to expand not in your natural, because you can see the drones that have just been produced from the main base. It actually takes like a solid 4 seconds, maybe even 5 or 6 seconds before they start mining. And this is really something that just snowballs throughout the entirety of the game. As a Zerg player, you truly notice that you haven't been rallying those drones to your natural and that your economy is worse than what it's supposed to be.
As this probe at least will get hunted down, Serral will move onto the map and just have a little bit of a poke and a prod. Twilight Council off the bat this time around from Zest.
That's actually a little bit risky as well, because, yeah, let's say that he would have gone for a glaive opening here. That wouldn't be super strong defensively, but Zest is taking some risk. He is getting a quick robo behind this. This could be a Dark Templar opening.
Yep, and I mean, Zest is one of those players who adored the Archon drops and still played them even when everyone else said, you can't do this anymore. So, not surprising to see him falling back to something he is so comfortable with.
It could also just be the quick glaive build once again, because he does like to do that with a War Prism. These Zerglings are actually starting to do some good damage on the Stalker. This Stalker should go down, and that's super annoying. He will keep the Lings out for now, but that's still expensive, right? Losing a Stalker in this phase in the game.
And now the Overlord.
Yep.
Scout as well. Nothing to push it back, as it is going to be glaives going up to 3 extra gateways.
I feel like that's 1 more than he often does, actually, going for that quick 4-gate opening. Now, this is a build we've seen quite a few times. Once again, that Nidus response is something we could potentially see. But the big question is, will Zest also drop the Dark Shrine or not? He obviously has done that in the majority of his games when he opens up like this, but he doesn't do it every single PvZ.
What a scout for Serral this is. He gets in, he's going to realize the Twilight Council is researching, and that immediately, you know, you see the Warp Prism being chrono boosted too. He gets good information here, so Serral gets a very good read on what Zest is up to, and Serral is already with the Roach Roaring, ready to produce the Roaches to defend.
Yep, I'm going to keep a close eye on the work account. Don't forget that Serral's economy is a tiny bit worse because he was forced to expand elsewhere. So we'll see how he decides to deal with this. I'm really amazed with how quick Zest hits with this build and the amount of adepts that he has. And he's got the War Prism out on the map as well. He does an incredibly good job. You can see that Serral is taking this very serious. He is now producing Roaches already of 36 drones. Now in one of the games he actually said, like, I'm just going to build 9 or 10 Roaches and that's it. This is interesting. Is he evacuating?
I don't know. He wanted to kind of wall off that main base or so. Let's see what happens as the Adepts will start to shade in. They threaten to go to the natural. The Roaches are over on the third, and the Adepts cancel, so they will stay on the third as well. So the Roaches still in range, but maybe a few too many Adepts to fight straight up. He's going to go for it now.
Well, that's quite a few Adepts. One Roach does fall. I wouldn't be surprised if Zest cancels this Shade, and that's exactly what he does, because he's actually winning this fight. A little bit of Warp Prism Micro as well. Obviously, you don't want to lose too many Adepts, but that shouldn't be the case. Serral feels confident that he has successfully dealt with this, and he's going back into droning at this point. I don't think Zest is done yet, Wadi.
I don't think so either, but I love that Spore Crawler sitting there so his units can get out, but he can burrow it the instant he needs to block an Adept Shade into the main base. It's a really cool little defense on the high ground. If Zest goes there right now, he's focusing on the third.
Talk about creativity. Maybe that's why he's been smiling all along. Maybe this was part of the plan. The thing is, though, like, Adepts going into the main base is sick, but there are still two other mineral lines you have to worry about. Serral is going for a little bit of a counterattack, and this is where Zest is going to see that Serral indeed has been up to something very clever. That's cute.
Yeah, that is really cute, as the Adepts are going to be blocked off there. Now the Roach is chasing forwards, and they will start to be in some better numbers to get some kills. And these Adepts, well, they're not shading right, so they're just chased away, and Serral will hold.
I actually have a smile on my face. I mean, he was very cheeky about this. He's like, I've got a couple of things planned. I've got a plan. I've never practiced it before, but I think it's going to be good. Well, that is a very easy way, because instead of having to worry about 3 bases as a Zerg player to defend, you only have to worry about 2 bases, and that makes it so much easier to have your Roaches in the correct position. Serral never fails to amaze us.
It's just so smart, because you can't usually wall off because you need the reinforcements from the main base. Really smart play here by Serral, just sat waiting to use it again as he goes up into missile upgrades, Roach speed, and he starts feeling comfortable enough to tech up at this stage. As Zest also realizing he has to do something as well. He'll drop down the Nexus, but it's still pure Adepts from Zest.
Yep, we would love to start seeing the first Immortal on the production tab right now from Zest. Otherwise, he's going to have a very big problem dealing with all these Roaches eventually, especially when Roach speed finishes up. The Adepts are picking up a couple of Roaches here and there. It is going to be that Blink follow-up that we have seen quite frequently. And Serral actually said he thinks this is kind of the only good follow-up you can do as a Protoss player if you play like this. But he's like, Blink is not that good. So I think the game is going according to plan for the Finnish Phenom. But the Adepts actually do manage to get into the main base for the first time. And now the big question is, how many drones will fall?
Well, so far 7 as the Roach is picking up some kills at least. But now the Adept Shade to the natural already evacuated. The recall will come down. 9 drones drop, so Serral's economy takes a big hit as Zest finally finds some damage.
Yeah, Zest is not done yet, man. And Zest is so good in keeping up the pressure as well, but he has to be very careful here with his Warp Prism. There's a lot of Queens waiting for it, and we do see that Baneling that's going down, and finally the first Immortal is on the way. Zest, of course, working towards +1. And suddenly, this game isn't all that bad anymore for Zest. He's only down 4 workers, but he's already working on a pretty good army.
Absolutely, that Blink is great when against the Roaches, and then Serral's going to start countering that with the Banelings, of course. And then we'll see what happens next.
And don't forget that Serral's still on 3 bases as well. I mean, he's getting a few more drones at this point, but there is no 4th hatchery yet. I can guarantee you that 8 minutes into the game, a lot of Zerg players out there would like to have that 4th base either up and running or at least close to finishing up. Because you're kind of always supposed to be a base ahead as a Zerg player against the Protoss.
Absolutely, as he starts +2 melee, +2 missiles and the +1 melee. So again, really starting to rely on the Lings and Banes, and then the Templar Archives has to come in to help with that as well. So Zest making the right moves, the right tech choices. He has a bit of a push on the map. We'll see what he can do. Plenty force fields to help him out here. Serral starting to get the Ravagers, something we've not seen yet, to help break those force fields down.
Yep, and of course potentially snipe that Warp Prism. That would be very big. We have a couple of changelings in the middle of the map scouting this army movement as well. Zest has to be very careful with his Warp Prism. Losing that could be disastrous.
The moment you lose a Warp Prism, you lose so much. Not just reinforcements, but potential to micro. You don't save an Immortal, some sentries, and it all falls apart. As Zest says, yep, I'm just going to back away from this. Has a defense in the 3rd base as well. He's playing good.
Yeah, I think both of them are playing good. I was about to say the same. You know, like sometimes we see semifinals and we know that the players are world class. Otherwise, they don't make it that far. But nerves can come into play, or it's just a one-sided affair. That is absolutely not the case. I am very impressed by the level that both players are showing so far.
Absolutely. There's just nothing that's really caught one or the other too off guard so far. No one's just fallen over and died.
Yep. Zest has to make sure that he doesn't do something silly in like the next minute, because he's actually in pretty good position, I think. He's getting shield batteries. He has Storm on the way. Serral's going to make a few more Overlords, and then he's going to be close to maxing out. We know that Serral is fantastic with his Roach, Ling, Ravager, Bane armies. Zest is dropping a little bit on the other side of the map as well. But if Zest is able to defend successfully, he is suddenly in a really good position, right? I don't want to call this an all-in, because obviously many things can happen after this, but but it's very important for Serral that this goes very well.
So far, the force fields are good initially, but Bane's into the third base. 9 probes go down, and now the Banes are fighting the rest of the army. Last moment, force field saved the High Templar, which will need to storm to help the rest of the Banelings.
That's a hold so far for Zest. He keeps all the High Templars alive. There are still a few more storms he can work with. There is micro potential in the Stalkers as well. The War Prism is here to potentially save an Immortal that's in trouble. And even though that looked promising for Serral at first, those shield batteries were so useful for Zest, and keeping his High Templars alive the way he did was absolutely perfect for a Korean Protoss.
Some absolutely clutch force fields, and again, this is all off of 60-ish drones, right? It's not 70, 80 where you can trade, go away, trade again, trade again. It is going to be a struggle for Serral to rebuild, especially when Zest keeps so many of his tech units alive. High Templar already going to have storms ready again, and stack defense to cover the bases as well.
Yep, it's going to be very hard for Serral to just roll a couple of Banelings into those mineral lines if you got multiple cannons to worry about as well. Zest made it look easy, by the way, controlling his army, controlling the spellcasters, but dropping good force fields and keeping your High Templars alive and having a good position on the left side. That's not easy. That was a lot harder than what it looked like, but very well done by Zest.
Serral realizing he needs to get off this composition. He's stuck in the mid game, and that's just not going to work. So he's going to attempt to tech up. He'll start that infestation pit. That's the next stage for him here, as he'll look to maybe move up in toward Hive or so. But it's really tough because now Zest has an army that can start the pressure even on the Zerg side of the map.
Absolutely. He has to be a little bit careful that he doesn't get too carried away. Don't go too deep into creep, because we do still have these Banelings on the right top side. There are 20 more Banelings morphing defensively as well. And Zest technically has the better army. It just needs to grow a little bit, right? It's not exactly the size yet that you want it to be, because we know what Banelings can do if they do connect with the High Templars, and suddenly the army is a whole lot less impressive. But Zest is just faking it. He's just moving out, pushing the creep back a little bit, and at the same time he is going up to 4 bases. Serral's got a couple of Zerglings here, but Stalkers can maybe blink and save it.
Yeah, coming on through the Nexus. It's just going to drop too quickly with that +1 melee. But it's a lot of Lings to go down just for cancel. There's the Banes. We mentioned those cannons, and they will just shut this down. The Lings at least coming in to start cleaning up some cannons. Maybe force Zest to rebuild a couple, but enough holds on. And Serral, well, getting Burrow even. Really looking for bits and pieces right now.
And we've got a series on our hands, because Zest is starting to look mighty fine in this game, going up to 4 bases as well. Serral is going to start Hive Tech, but this is the moment where Zest is like, now I like my army a little bit more. He's closing in on maxed out supply. Serral is going to get +2 though, so maybe those Banes can do some good economic damage. But as long as Zest is paying close attention to where the Banelings are coming from, he absolutely has the army to win a fight.
He does indeed, as these Banelings will get in for a few probes, but again, it's the army that's attacking already that is looking dangerous. What does Serral do to take this down? There's so many storms available. The Zealot hitting the left side too, so Serral has to move an army over here. Now Zest hits the right. This hatchery will not be allowed to come up. Zest taking it down, and Serral not even getting the cancel.
Nope, was too busy dealing with all the Zealots in the left bottom side. I mean, most of these Zealots might go down, but if there's one thing you're okay with losing as a Protoss player, it is Zealots. He did get an easy cancel. Of course, the most important thing here for Zest is that he knows where the Banelings are. Make sure that Banelings do not contact or connect with his spellcasting units, then he's going to be fine. He is pretty deep on creep though. Serral's going to go for it.
Here we go from the bottom and the left as the first storm's coming down. The Banelings are already being absolutely destroyed though. Zest will have to keep backing away. The Archon splash will help as well. The Ravager count is all that's really left with Immortals and a couple of Archons. Serral will get the Prism, but the Immortals will push the Ravagers away. Maybe just time for Zest to turn back home, but now the Zealots want there to deal with these.
Yeah, but he's got other units coming in from the left top side as well. It doesn't seem like Serral has a lot of Banelings left to deal with this. Apparently a couple are going to keep this base safe for now, but that's a lot of Zealots coming in from the top side. The Banes, can they clean it up?
Yeah, they're going for it. A couple of Zealots have to back away. Good job by Zest, not letting those Banes find the connections they want. The units on the right side, though, it feels like you're so close to some reinforcements, just cleaning those up. But for the moment, Serral's being pushed back. These Zealots still around, and he's going to try once more to take down these Immortals and Archons.
I would have actually liked to see a recall at one point, because now you only have 3 Immortals left. These Immortals taking a lot of damage from the Zerglings. It is so close, and Zest is still in a good position. He actually just straight up wins, even though those units were going to fall. But Serral just felt like he lost a little too much.